very high, very fertile, very high in nutrients, especially nitrogen.
So because it's so high in nutrients, we don't need to put any kind of fertilizer in our soil. And I know a lot of you at home do have to use fertilizer. So what should they do fertilizing-wise? What should they use? And how often and when should they do it?
Well, if I was growing, we do grow some hardland also. And if that's the case, I usually fertilize during in the fall. I'll just use a basic triple 10 if I have to. But I'll fertilize before I plant, and I'll plant within a week later. I'll fertilize it, we'll till it, make the ground nice and soft, and then we'll plant. Muckland, I don't always need to fertilize. Actually, sometimes we have to defertilize. But hardland, I do recommend fall fertilizing. Then again, in the spring, first and second week after the April.
So once we plant the garlic, does this type of garlic thrive in cold weather, hot weather, and does it do well up here, and why?
Hardneck thrives best in cool temperatures and cold weather. It goes dormant during the winter time, and the root system grows throughout the winter. Sometime when you plant in the fall, you'll see the crowns emerge, probably around maybe an inch or two, and that's fine, okay? The ground will then freeze, like our winter always does, as we all know. And come spring, you'll see them grow probably around March or into April, and they'll become green. But when you plant in the fall, they will crown about an inch or two. Like I said, that's fine.
So they're going to grow all winter long, and then once they're in the ground and they're growing, something green comes up through the stalks, and that's called a scape. When do you cut the scapes? Do you cut the scapes, and what's the purpose of cutting the scapes?
Scapes is just the seed. The garlic, everything produces seed. That's the way the garlic is produced. So the scapes will start to grow. You'll probably notice that probably around the end of May on the hardneck. I'm talking only end of May, first week in June. So a lot of people tend to ignore the scapes, or they pick them or they clip them too late in the season. That's why they end up with sometimes small garlic. So what I do in my case is I'll keep a good eye on my garlic towards the end of May and the first few days of June. Once I see the scapes start to come down, I usually clip them as far as I can get them to the bottom. Okay, so almost to the bottom of that stalk. And usually right before they make that little circle is when I'll clip them off. And most people cook with them. I don't. I just throw them out in the field because we have so many of them. But
once you clip the scapes, do the scapes grow back again, or once they're clipped, they're completely gone for the season?
No, the scape will not grow rescape in that particular pod. There have been cases where they will grow scapes again. That's called witch growth. What causes that is different temperatures, climate. It can get from hot to cold. Different extremes will tell that garlic. It'll confuse the garlic. It'll tell it to regrow, or in some cases it won't. But I think it's very important that if you want good sized garlic like we have right here, you have to clip off the scape in order to get that. It's a very important part of the whole process of growing your garlic.
So when you're clipping the scapes, it's telling the garlic, once the scape is off, that it can continue to grow and you get bigger bulbs.
Yeah, most of the energy will turn towards making the bulb. And that's exactly what you want. Most people want large bulbs. It doesn't affect the flavor or anything like that. It just affects the size of the bulb.
So once we're clipping the scapes, how many weeks or months are you waiting until you're pulling the garlic out of the ground?
Well, it depends on where you live. In my case, like I said before, I do have muckland, and to me, it's all about weather, okay? I know if I clip the scapes off, usually about a 4-week period of time, I take the scapes off and I harvest my garlic. In my case, sometimes I have to look at the forecast. If it's going to rain, I'll have to go in there a little bit early, within 3 weeks, and pull the garlic. If I can wait 4 weeks, I'll take advantage and do that. But like I said, in my case, it's based on the weather. I don't want to harvest my garlic when it's wet, when it's muddy out. We want to wait until it's dry. It's the best time to pull it.
So for someone that is planting garlic at home, they're cutting the scapes and now they're watching the garlic grow. What's the sign from the stalk that you know you should pull your garlic? Do the stalks turn, like you see here, tan? Do they pull it when the stalks are still green? What are you looking for, and how you know when you're walking through your garden when it's time to pull it?
Well, I'll take a walk through the garlic, and I'll look at it. And if the majority of my garlic shows three bottom leaves from the bottom that died off, and the third leaf is beginning to wilt or turn brown to me, I'll pull a few and inspect this, and I'll look at the bulbs. If they got a good size, I will pull them because I have so many. I need a jump start on it. So, but if I was a backyard, if I grew just 15 or 20 in my backyard, I would wait till the third or fourth leaf was dying off, and then I would pull my garlic back. So basically, looking at like 40% of the plant from the bottom.
Okay, so when it's in the ground, look for the third to fourth leaf, count from the bottom, and if that is tan, your garlic is ready to get pulled out of the ground.